All right, got it. Great. All right, everyone. Welcome again. We're here today to celebrate Janny Perez's latest book, Nobody Told Me This About Raising a Bilingual Child. I'm your host tonight, Monica Encarnacion, and I'm thrilled to be here with all of you today. Before we begin, I want to ask you to keep your microphones mute. I've muted most of you, I believe. We also want to remind you that this event is being recorded for promotional purposes. If you don't want us to see your pretty face, just feel free to shut off your camera. If you would like to see all the participants, there is a view button all the way at the top right corner of your screen. You can click on the gallery there or view any of the other views that you choose. We have an exciting hour planned for you, filled with discussions, questions and answers, even a game and a giveaway. So make sure that you stick around to the end to see if you're a winner today. We also have a list of questions from some of our participants here today who are with us joining in this celebration. So we'll be sharing some of those questions and doing a Q&A as well for these giveaways. If you submitted a question, we're going to take a little time to answer those. We may not have time to take any more questions, but we'll see how it plays out. And if we have time at the end, we'll take some more questions then. Let's see, we have one more person to mute here. All right. So thank you everyone again for coming out and being here with us today. Before we start, Janny, would you like to share a little bit? I think I went far ahead here because I forgot that we wanted to take a screenshot, a
Yes,
picture to
yes,
get
let's
this
take
party
a
started. So before we move on, let's do that. So if I could have all of you, maybe if you want to share with us your beautiful faces, just turn
smile.
on your cameras and let's give a big smile. Everyone say cheese.
Cheese.
And let's
Thank
do
you.
one more. One more. All right. Cheese, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So now let's get this party started. I would like to introduce to you today our author here for this virtual book party. Her name is Janny Perez. She's a bilingual parenting educator and the founder of MeLegacy.com, a platform that offers resources and support for parents raising bilingual children. She is also the host of the Top Global 50 podcast, The Latina Mom Legacy, and she is raising a multilingual and multicultural daughter. Today, we are celebrating the launch of Janny's first book, Nobody Told Me This About Raising a Bilingual Child. Congratulations, Janny.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you for joining us today. Before we start the Q&A, Janny would you like to share a little bit about this exciting new book with us?
So I'll go into the details of the actual writing process in a bit, but I wanted to create, nobody told me this about bilingual parenting, about raising a bilingual child. Sorry. I wanted to create this book to empower parents that were perhaps starting in this bilingual parenting journey and didn't know what to expect. These are all the things that nobody had told me that I couldn't find in blogs or in books pertaining to the journey. And I really tried to be mindful of the mom's time in writing the book. So we'll get a little bit
That's
into that.
wonderful. Tell us a little more about what inspired you to write this book, about like your experiences and share it with us.
So again, it goes back. I always come from a place to serve my community and to serve the parent. And I have a soft spot for the mom. So I wanted to create a book that was visual because I'm a visual person. When it comes to topics like bilingual parenting or that seem overwhelming, I felt like we needed to have a book that was a little bit more practical with exercises and again mindful of the mom's time that just gave her the resources that she need to start or to continue in this bilingual parenting journey.
That's wonderful. I'm sure that you worked with many wonderful people supporting you through this. So I'm sure you have many people to thank here today, and we'll be talking, I think, a little more about that later as well.
Yes, absolutely. So where is it? Let me share this. So these are a number of the people that I want to share, and I'll save the details for a little bit later, but they were absolutely crucial in getting this book out. So thank you. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful. Seems like you have a great support system there getting you through this process. But I can't wait to see the book. And do you think you might be able to show us a little sneak peek of it?
Yes, let's see. So this is the book, and I know a couple of you already have your copies, so thank you so much. Again, I wanted to make a very visual book, and it's not very long. It's 88 pages long, but it's full of exercises, full of graphics, and really, again, keeping the busy mom in mind.
It seems like it's not very long at all, but it has lots of visuals and pictures and exercises. Was that intentional?
That was, and when I started my journey with Victoria, and my husband knows, a lot of the bilingual parenting books out there are very long, and they just get they're like 300 pages long, and they get into the very technical aspects of bilingual parenting or the bilingual brain. And I just feel like that just makes bilingual parenting even seem like a more arduous and overwhelming task. So I wanted the mom or dad that picked this book up to be like, I can do this. I have the tools. And then from there, if they want to really dive into like what happens in the bilingual brain, then they can go seek out those 300-page books.
Sure. What was the actual writing process like for you?
So the writing process was very interesting because this all started as an ebook, or with an ebook idea. My idea was not to create a book, and I knew that I had some things that I wanted to say, and in the process I started writing stuff out. And I think that whether you're raising a bilingual child, whether you're an entrepreneur, or whether you're in education or in your studies, you have to surround yourself with a network and people that can support you in any journey. And so I just reached out to my community, my business community, and said, look, I have this idea for this ebook. What do you think? And the overall consensus was it should be a book. Like, it shouldn't be an ebook. It should be a book. And from when they said book, I thought it was like a KDP ebook. I thought it was still an ebook. I didn't think it was going to be like a physical book. And that's when I decided to hire a proofreader and a publishing company to help me in that process, because I said, okay, if I'm going to put out a product, I want it to be good, and I want somebody to correct my grammar, and to really I want to be proud of whatever I put out.
Sure. I want you to show us a little bit more about this book. Maybe you can read a page to us.
Yes. So I am going to read. So I'm going to read a couple pages, and every chapter in the book starts off with "Nobody told me." So this chapter starts, "Nobody told me the importance of creating a positive emotional connection to the language for my child. I was raised in a house where the motto, en esta casa solo se habla español. We only speak Spanish in this house was used. For many years, I resented my parents for forcing me to speak Spanish, especially when I wanted to express myself in other ways. You may say I rebelled quite a bit when my parents decided to move us from the US to Colombia at the age of 13. Well, let's just say I gave my parents more than they bargained for. Even though I initially hated my parents for having us move to my birth country, which I had very few memories of, as I grew up, I realized how powerful an emotional connection I had with it, and thus the language. It created memories of being around my extended family, laughing and playing games. It brought folklore and legends alive. I experienced some of the most memorable experiences in Spanish, like my first concert, my first hike in the mountains, my first neighborhood Christmas fiesta, my first boyfriend. You get the idea. The emotional connection is so strong that I can tell you that I pray and curse in Spanish. When I started raising my daughter bilingually, I knew that I didn't want her to resent the language or me. I didn't want to create a forceful environment, but I did want to create an intentional one. That meant being understanding if my daughter couldn't express herself in one language and preferred the other. That meant practicing a lot of patience and doubting myself whether she was learning enough. Most importantly, I wanted to make sure that she was having strong, positive emotional connections to the language so she could view the language as a positive force in her life. How have I helped her create a strong, positive connection to the language when she is not immersed in the language or culture as I was? When she lives far away from her extended family, and when we are also incorporating a third language? Focus on making it fun, making it impactful, and making memories. I wish somebody would have told me that.
I love that, Johnny. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's so important, and we often don't think about that emotional connection. I love that. The book is now available on Amazon, everyone. I'm dropping the link right now in our chat so that you can find it. Johnny, do you have any helpful and useful tips for someone that might be interested in publishing their own book?
Yes, don't do it all yourself.
Good advice.
Chisholm, who is here, Chisholm, please wave. Please wave. Chisholm is my book reader and editor, and I knew that this was somebody that I wanted to work with when I started this because she is also a bilingual parenting mom, and she was also an entrepreneur, and we were both up late at night many times. If you're starting a book or if you want to write a book, I recommend that first have your ideas thought out. But in the process, get beta readers, people within your friends, family, or your community that can read the book. I had a number of people read the book and offer a lot of tips and suggestions. So when I hired Chisholm, it was a much shorter book. And as we kept getting feedback, the book continued to grow and grow and grow until, again, all of this started, we were still thinking ebook. And then at some point she said to me, well, you're just a few pages away from a book. And I was like, really? Okay, let's turn this into a book. And then everything just sort of came together. So when you hire somebody that knows more than you, that can upload it, if you're uploading it to Amazon, it's very helpful because later on, I think you can do it yourself. But that first, there's a big learning curve. So I would say invest a little money and hire somebody that knows more than you.
Oh, that's great advice. Thanks for sharing that, Johnny. Well, everyone, we're going to switch on into our Q&A right now with our audience. Some of you sent in some questions. Here we have our first question comes from Ranjai, who wants to know, how do you prioritize and encourage reading and writing in the minority languages? That's a great question. Johnny, can you help us with that?
Yes. So, how do you prioritize and encourage reading, writing in the minority language? So first, you have to understand what your expectations are for your child in terms of proficiency. What do you want them? Can you see that? I don't know why it's zooming out. Can you see? Maybe there. Okay. Understand what your expectations are for your child. So if you want them to have a basic understanding of the knowledge, intermediate, or if you want them to be fluent, speak, read, write, and then just their exposure match your expectation. So if you want them to be fluent, but you're not speaking to them in the minority language enough, that expectation doesn't really match. To prioritize the language, you prioritize it based on the amount of exposure your child will get at home and in the community. So if the community language is English, but you want to teach them Spanish or French or whatever the language is, if the majority is English, then you want to focus on speaking to them more in the minority language at home. And then as far as reading and writing, really, I encourage you to start with one language, focus on that first, then follow up with the other language. And you can start slowly introducing the second or third language. And then the easiest way to encourage them to read is to find subjects or things that really interest them.
That's great advice. Thank you, Johnny, for sharing that. We have another question. This question is from Astrid, who I believe is here with us today.
Yes.
Astrid wants to know, what has been your biggest challenge in raising a trilingual child?
So my biggest challenge is really ensuring that Victoria, my daughter, continues to get enough exposure of each of the languages and also managing our expectations along the way. So with that comes consistency, and you have to acknowledge that you go through seasons when you're raising bilingual or multilingual children, and they're not going to be the same. So as long as you understand the big picture and you have those, I call them monthly or quarterly check-ins, to sort of see how your child is doing, I think that's very helpful. But for sure, I think for many of us, the challenge is how to continue to stay consistent when we're raising bilingual or multilingual children.
Great. Thank you so much, Johnny. We have another question here. This one is from Crystal. Crystal's not sure how much Spanish and English to expose her kids to and how to do it.
So this is a very common question in terms of how much exposure. So in order to understand that question, you first have to understand what your starting point is. So again, your child's proficiency level, what your comfort level, how you feel with the language, and what does your support network look like? Once you understand your starting point, you're able to understand, what do you want the destination to look like for your child? Again, do you want them to have basic, intermediate, or fluency? Once you have those two, you're able to create a strategy. But I think what happens is people want to raise a fluent child, but they don't really understand point one and point two, and the expectations don't necessarily meet that exposure. I don't think we can hear you, Monica.
I was mute. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. That was so useful. We have another question coming in from Liliana Caldera, who I believe might be here as well. She wants to know, how do you get kids started with speaking more at home, and how do you get the spouse to be on board?
Okay, so one of the things that I encourage is to model your behavior. So if you speak more, they're going to speak more. If you speak to your friends and family in the minority language, they're going to hear you. And again, it's going to become part of their life. Making it fun, impactful, and memorable so they can create that connection to that language. And then it's also helpful if you designate a specific time and place for them. So maybe your dinners are in the minority language, or maybe reading time is in the minority language. These are all ways that will encourage them to speak more in the minority language if they don't generally want to or do so.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Johnny. I love that. Okay, now
Oh,
we have a little time.
Yes, I'm sorry. That was part one of the question. Part two is, how do you get the spouse?
Okay, sorry.
How do you get the spouse to be on board? And this was something that I included in the book. And it's, nobody told me your spouse may not care much about raising a bilingual child. And so with that, it's how do you encourage them, understanding their reasoning, make them see what's in it for them, explain to them the many benefits, discuss your personal reasons, also setting realistic expectations, because if they never speak to your child in the minority language, don't expect them to be speaking to them in the minority language 24/7 after you have a conversation. And also try to understand and not place blame on them. You can't change a person if they don't want to change, no matter how much you want to. So that may mean for you taking it upon yourself to maybe seek outside support within your network.
Yeah. That's important, right? For everyone to be on board, but I love that advice. Thank you, Johnny. Okay, so if we have a little more time at the end, we'll take some more questions. If anyone has them and wants to share them, we'll look at those at the end. But we're going to move into the fun part of our program today, which is the giveaway and questions and trivia. So let's get ready for that. We'll be playing a trivia game related to Nobody Told Me This About Raising a Bilingual Child. We are giving away 3 prizes today. The first person to correctly answer each question in the chat will win that prize. It's going to be pretty easy. Just make sure you are listening. Some are multiple choice, so listen up. And here is question one. I will be typing Q1 into the chat so that we can all follow along, and you will just type in your replies or your answers right after that. So here is the first question for an opportunity to win a children's 3-pack of bilingual Spanish books, including the books that are displayed here on the screen right now. Look for Q1 in the chat and type in your answer below. Here's the question. According to experts, what is the recommended percentage of language exposure that a child needs in order to acquire a language? You have to write the number and the percent sign for the answer to count. So which is the right answer? 50%, 10%, or 30%? Don't forget to type in the full response with the number and percent. According to experts, what is the recommended percentage? It looks like we already have a winner, Sulelma. Congratulations, you are right. 30% is the correct answer. So make sure, Sulelma, am I saying it right? Yes, Sulema, who was the first one to answer, make sure to stick around at the end so we can get your contact info, or make sure to check your email after this program. We'll be reaching out. Okay, so 30% is the correct answer. Janny, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So that is a very common question. And why does need and exposure matter? So it's 30%. Is what the recommended amount of exposure of waking hours for a child. So it depends. Some children require 20%, some children require 40%. But how that translates is if your child is awake, let's say from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, that's 12 hours. 30% of 12 hours is 3.5 hours a day of language exposure. So the more that you speak to your child in that language, the less of the other activities that you have to do. But roughly it translates to about 3.5 to 4 hours a day. But again, the more you speak to them and expose them to the language in different ways, they're going to get that language exposure. But recommended as little as 20% or as much as 40%. Again, it varies from child to child.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Janny. We're going to move on to question 2 here in our trivia. And I've typed Q2 into our chat so you can follow along. The second question for an opportunity to win a signed hard print copy of Nobody Told Me This about raising a bilingual child.
Well, it'll be worth a lot of money.
According to a European Union survey, as many as 58% of Europeans speak another language compared to what percent of Americans? Is it 22%, 42%, or 38%? So go ahead and type in that answer after Q2 there.
So what do you guys think?
We have 22% here. So our first person after the Q2 here was Jessica Gonzalez with 22%. So congratulations, Jessica, for typing it in after the Q2 here, 22%. You are the winner, so make sure you stay at the end to share your contact info with us. And we're moving on to question 3. Oh, actually, let's have Janny tell us about it, actually. She has a great slide here to share with us. Go ahead, Janny.
So in the U.S., the average percent of the language that is spoken other than English is 21.7, 22%. What's interesting is that according to a European Union survey, 92% of children ages K through 12 receive a foreign language, compared to only 20% of children in the U.S. And here, if you look at the most in-demand foreign languages reported by U.S. employers, 85% of employers recommend Spanish or demand Spanish, followed by Chinese, French, Japanese, German. So as you can see, whether it's Spanish, Chinese, French, or Japanese, having your child speak multiple languages is definitely will give them an up in society.
Wonderful statistics there. Thank you, Janny. We're moving on to question 3. make sure that you type in your answer after the Q3 to give everyone time to get to the chat. The last question is for an opportunity to win a $25 Amazon gift card, so you can go and buy your own copy of Nobody Told Me This About Raising a Bilingual Child. And here you're going to have to write true or false for this question. So the MLAH method is short for Meaningful Language at Home. MLAH, Meaningful Language at Home. Is that true or false? Go and answer in the chat. All right, we have here R.C. Chisholm. Thank you so much. You are the winner. No, you are not the winner because it's not true. It is false. So we don't have a winner for this one. Let's see. We might have to raffle that one off again because all our answers were true here. That was a tricky one. I thought it was true as well when I first saw it. You tricked us, Janny. You changed your answer to false. That's a good one. So tell us, what does it actually stand for, Janny?
Yes. So when I started my lingual parenting journey, nobody told me what the heck MLAH was or MLA or OPA was. So I created a cheat sheet in the book to help you understand. And MLA is short for Minority Language at Home. And these are terminologies that people would ask me, like, which method do you use? And I would be like, huh? I don't know. So I created this cheat sheet so that you can understand like the basic terminologies when you're raising a bilingual child, so that when people do ask you, you're like, yeah, I'm using the Minority Language at Home approach.
Wonderful. I did not know that. All right, so we don't have a winner for that one. I think Janny will probably be choosing a random winner from all participants here today, and we'll reach out to you via email to give that card to one of our lucky winners here today. Okay, so thank you, and let's all remember that everyone who has attended here today is also going to be entered to win access to Janny's bilingual parenting course. So make sure that you check your email within the next 24 hours, including your spam box, to see if you're a winner. If you're a winner, we will be waiting for your reply within the next 24 hours so that you can claim your prize. Janny, I know that you have...
sorry, let me just interrupt. If you have taken the course, because I know if you have taken the course and you do win the course, you can gift it to somebody. You could just send me who you would like to gift it to, their email, and then I would give them access to the course.
And that person will love you for giving them that gift. Sure.
Yes, I'm sure they will.
All right. So moving on, I think Janny has a great network of friends, supporters, and her network here that has helped her through this entire process. So I'm sure you have many people that you want to say a special thank you to today. So we'll let you take a minute for that.
Yes. So first and foremost, I dedicated this book to my dad, and I hope I don't get emotional. My dad was definitely the inspiration for many things in my life, and he is present, I know, with me today. And there is quite few mentions of him in the book, but because of him is why I speak Spanish, why I'm so proud of my culture, and why I want my daughter to not only be proud of her Latino culture, but also her European culture and language as well. So, Papi in heaven, thank you. Gracias. I want to thank Chisholm Eze from the publishing pad, as I mentioned, for the countless revisions and for being up at like 11 o'clock at night when everybody else was sleeping and rolling her eyes. So thank you, Chisholm, so much for your patience with me. I want to thank Valeria Aloe. She is an award-winning author and contributor who contributed a beautiful quote for the book. She is the author behind Uncolonized Latina and the Rising Together movement, somebody I admire very much. Alexandra Alessandri, who is also an award-winning children's book author. She recently wrote and released The Adventures of Valentina Mejia, and she's also the author behind Feliz New Year, Eva Gabriela, which was part of the giveaway. Christine, quote, Tacos Blandino. She's a STEM educator, also contributor for the book. She was part of the first Latina duo on Lego Masters, an amazing person. So thank you so much, Christine. Daisy Perez, she is an expert early childhood educator. She's been an educator for over 20 years. She's also my biggest fan and my sister, but she's my right hand in terms of from the very beginning in terms of bilingual parenting, just parenting in general. So a great resource that I have. Stephanie Moran Reed, she is the owner behind Mija Books. She's also a contributor for the book. She has a multicultural bookstore, so you can find them online. And she has great books that represent people of all colors. And I love her mission. RC Chishoff, who's here. Thank you so much for being here wherever you are. She's also an award-winning children's book author. She has many books, and one of her books is part of the giveaway as well. Nadia, Nidia, and Nayeli from Little Dreamers Publishing. They're also behind celebrating El Día de los Muertos. They're also a children's publisher. Bilingual, trilingual, multilingual, multicultural. So again, another great resource. All the beta test readers that read the book, who are here and not here, who gave me insights and helped make the book what it is. And finally, my family, my husband who's on here. Thank you so much for putting up with me and late nights, and for stepping up with Victoria with dinners and everything else, and not having me very present for the past few months, because it's a lot of work, people. It's a lot of work. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. That's so nice. You have such a great network right there. I'm happy that you had all that support through your process. Now, everyone, let's remember that we're all going to go out and purchase this book. I am adding the link once again into our chat here. So go out and get yourself a copy. Tell your friends about it too. Once you get your copy, also remember to write a review. The goal is to empower you, the parents, and help make this book a bestseller. We're going to stick around for a little bit more. I know we're still a little early, so if there's anyone that has any questions, anything that they want to ask Janny, you can feel free to type it in the chat. In the meantime, I also want to let you know that if you'd like to contact or get in touch with Janny after this program, you can find her over on Instagram, send her an email, or visit her on her website for more resources, listen to her blog, not her blog, her podcast, The Latina Mom Legacy. Everything is right here on the screen where you can find her and reach out after this program if you want to stay in touch. Like I said, we're going to stay on for a few more minutes if anyone has any questions. I see some of you say you already got the copy of the book. Some of you are probably already started reading it. If anyone wants to share anything with us, type it in the chat, and then maybe we can invite you in to unmute if there's anything you want to share or any just questions.
Yeah,
Janny,
feel free.
Anything else you want to share with us?
No, just thank you everyone that showed up to this event. You know, in our lives, we have opportunities, and when we show up for ourselves, when we show up for other people, it makes a difference. And so I want to thank you for showing up for me, for being here and celebrating, because as I mentioned, I didn't think this was going to be a book, and here we are. So feel free, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you, and about the book, about the process, or about raising a bilingual child. Hi, Valeria. I think Valeria has a question or comment.
Hola, hola.
Her. There we go. Hi, Valeria.
Hello. Sorry to be a few minutes late. I'm a soccer mom also, and the practice got moved, so I was caught in the car. But here we are. Janny, I want to say this to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
particularly because what you're doing is removing the stigma, generational ancestral stigma around who we are when we come to this country with our cultures, with our languages, and how our ancestors were forced to change their ways, even feel ashamed of where we come from and what we bring. And what you're doing is changing that mindset, which is huge, and creating a legacy. And my kids are now 15 and 14. I'm buying your book today and I'm going to read it because I'm sure that to this day and before they leave the house, your book will help me significantly. I'm not a mother of a toddler anymore, you know what I mean? And I don't plan to be a mother again, let's put it that way. But with my teenagers, feel a struggle sometimes for them to really embrace that it's an asset to speak two languages or more. It's a huge asset and it will pay off significantly in the future. So I want to say thank you as a mother, as somebody who is in the community and I see how we struggle with stigmas. Thank you so much for your legacy and for this hard work. And I wish you the best and anything we can support you with. Here I am to support you. Un abrazo.
Gracias. Thank you so much.
That was so nice. Anybody else wants have any questions? I see some people are adding some stuff here into the chat. Sulema agrees about removing the stigma, and an accent is no longer something to be embarrassed about, right? Yes, we can speak more than one language. That's wonderful. Oh, I see Graciela is on the snow slopes here. I think she wants to talk to us. Okay.
Yeah, just to congratulate you. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it, but we got off the mountain. I got on the Wi-Fi. So, the part where you're talking about the adding additional languages, Jenny, that's also so important because, it's one thing to preserve the language that our parents gave us. It's a whole other thing to decide to add on. And so I'm so happy that your book is including your journey about that so that we can have American kids growing up as lingually equipped as the rest of the world. So very, very important. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And the goal is to really empower parents, no matter what language you're passing down, what culture you're from, or what your heritage is, to really raise children that are bilingual, multilingual, so that they have tools to compete in the future. I mean, especially I'm speaking here in the US. We are so far behind the rest of the world when it comes to language. And I feel like we need to wake up. Like the population I think the statistic is by 2060, it's going to be almost majority minority. So when you have all this huge mix of people, but you don't embrace the languages that they bring, and you don't encourage that in the system, in the schools, with programs, and you have that stigma attached, then the ones that are losing out are children. I mean, we're stopping their opportunity to grow and to thrive in society. And
then there's also this irony there's also an irony about that. While there's the stigma of don't speak Spanish and speak English going on, meanwhile, the people next to those people are paying so that their kids that are speaking English will learn Spanish. And so it's like, no, we can't let that happen. We need to preserve it because there are people who understand that they don't want to let their kid grow up monolingual English. And so they're paying for language instruction. And meanwhile, here we are with the language already coming from our families, and then we're being discouraged to use it. So it's all silly, but yeah, thank you for leading. And if we need, it's going to be the mommies that lead this.
Thank you. So I want to answer Sulema's question.
Okay.
She's asking, is adding a third language, will the minority language be affected? So this is something very interesting. So I read this recently, and this is that at a given time, a child can learn up to 5 languages. So if they're exposed as little as 20% of the time to a language, a child can acquire some form of the language. So I know parents that are raising children that speak 4 languages. So if you introduce a third language, everything goes back to exposure, the amount of time the child is getting that language. So even if they don't speak back to you, they can acquire language passively, which means that they understand it, but they may not necessarily speak it. So I would say don't be afraid to introduce a third language or even a fourth language to a child, as long as they continue to get that exposure. Obviously, if they are clear in terms of who is speaking what language and when, that's going to only help them just to have more clarity. I know in our home, it was like not necessarily clear, but even regardless, our daughter is still being raised trilingually. So I very much don't like when I hear like, oh, this method is the best, or you have to use this method, because at the end of the day, we're all different. You have to do what works for you and your family and your child. And the more that you can expose them to different languages, they will acquire, even if it's something is better than nothing. And because later on, they can go to school, they can get more education, they can get the grammar. But if you have the assets in you to speak, the more that you do it with them, you're just giving them a gift that's so valuable. And it's going to save you tons of money later on in classes. And tutors, they're expensive.
Yeah, they are. This is true. Wonderful. I see others here were congratulating you in the chat. I know some people had to leave already, but it seems like everyone's excited about your new book, Janny.
Thank you.
We can't wait to read it. So I don't know if any other last minute questions. If not, we're going to.
I think Daisy
we have
has a
hand
question.
Up here.
Yes.
Daisy has a question. Yes. Let's go ahead and unmute yourself, Daisy.
Hi. Hi. Good evening. As you know, I am Daisy Perez. I am Janny's sister. First of all, I would like to congratulate her. I know that our dad is very proud of her where he is at. She's a very hardworking lady. I'm very proud of her. And as an early educator, teacher that I've been for more than 20 years, I am so happy to see this out there because, you know, throughout the years, you hear parents, oh, I talk to my child in my language, either English or any other language, and they get discouraged because what they see or what they speak to their child, I mean, they're listening. Children are sponges. Everything soaks into their brain. And the more, like my sister said, the more that you make it fun, that you talk to them, the more of exposure that they get, believe it or not, they're going to get it. You know, sometimes you might hear them just you talking to them, but everything is soaking into their brain. As an early childhood teacher, I can honestly say I'm very happy to sit this out there, to motivate parents out there to continue either in your native language. It could be Spanish, Asian, you know, what your language is, the more that you keep it and that you continue to do it and be consistent, believe it or not, you will see the results. So I'm very happy that she did this, and for all those parents out there that, you know, need an extra push, you know, don't give up, be consistent. And thank you for those of you that, you know, came, you know, as part of her family. I am very proud, and I know that our dad is very happy up there. So thank you. And thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
That's so wonderful. As a former bilingual teacher myself, I can say that I can already tell that this is going to be a great resource for not only parents, but for also educators. Mm-hmm. I know that as a bilingual teacher myself, teaching children who were new to the country, so my job was to teach them English. And I always felt so weird about, you know, let's speak more English than Spanish. But as a bilingual teacher 15 years ago, that was my job, to get them accustomed to the English language, right? But I also got all those questions all the time from parents. How do I keep the native language going at home. And as an educator, sometimes you don't have all the answers. There are so many ways that this can be done. So I think that the book that you just put together, Janny, will be a great resource for not only parents, but also teachers in the classroom who want to help parents. And so if you have teacher friends, go out there, buy a copy of the book and give it to them as a gift. I'm sure that they will appreciate it as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. I think that that is all. If you were one of the winners of our giveaway, you can go ahead and maybe type in your email address and
well, maybe don't type it in the chat, but maybe just send it directly to me or Monica and the address.
Okay. So if we want to go ahead and do that, I'm just going to quickly go back, and you probably remember who you are. I do not. But
I should have written down.
Yeah, I have them here. That's why we had that Q1. So we had Graciela. Let's see. Graciela was not. It was the first answer was 30%, right? So
yes. So Zulema was Zulema.
Was our first winner, and then for our second winner, we had. Was the answer 22%, I believe?
22%.
So we had Jessica as the person there who won that one. And our third winner, we did not have, so you're going to raffle that one.
So we're going to raffle that one. Yeah. So check your email. So it's important that you check your spam emails. And again, we'll announce the winner in the email as well for the course. So thank you so much for everyone for showing up and joining. It's exciting, but more than anything, I hope that this book serves you as a source of help, just overall help. And yeah, that's it.
Wonderful. So this concludes our virtual book launch party today. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Like I said, you can connect with Janny on Instagram, through her website, milegacy.com, also through her podcast, or just send her an email. I'm sure she'll be happy to reply to any questions you might have. Again, thank you very much for joining us today.
Can I give a shout out to Janny?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, as you guys can see, I have my hands full, but I've been trying my best to listen. And my phone died and I had to log into my laptop now.
Thank you for joining us, Lily.
So I would like to start off, like, I really am so grateful that I came across Janny about 6 years ago. And I've been following her through Instagram. Victoria is a year older than my daughter, Ciani. So with her company, Mi Legacy, it gave me a lot of more confidence knowing the fact that we have a big support and she doing it mainly on her own, starting from home. And I remember seeing her story in the very beginning to developing from monthly boxes subscription and doing, heritage learning. That is what really got my attention into her company. And I'm so grateful that I did click that button to follow, because I started with my daughter, and even though it has been a little hard, we do live in a society where English should be the main language to learn, and we forget our heritage. We forget our culture. And I love the fact that Janny has reeled us back in, because she gives us so much information. And this is for the whole Latin America, and she gives us the support that we need. Even though it is virtual, I feel so close to her. I'm in California, Northern California, and I cannot wait to meet her in person and give her a big hug, because there's been times that she's come to California and I missed it. And knowing that she's done so much to have Mi Legacy brand be this, to the point that it's becoming a big thing, and us moms, Latina moms, doing the best that we're trying to do to hablar español a nuestra familia. Ella nos está apoyando, nos está ayudando mucho con sus workshops, and that encouragement. And so her putting herself out there as a mom, as a businesswoman, and una guerrera, and sharing her passion for it, and knowing the fact that, she shared also her family, and has made me more understanding that, hey, I'm not the only one. We're full of mamas out there, pop dads too, that we're trying to do the best that we can so we can learn teach our children to learn our culture, our language, so it won't die. It is hard because now that I'm a mom of two, I sometimes express myself better in English than I do in Spanish, knowing that I came from a Spanish speaking household from Mexico. And it's one of the best things that I have found from her. So I want to congratulate her, knowing that, I have a big support, whether it's just virtual, long distance. And she's seen my family grow as I seen her daughter and every single event that happens to her. And I'm so, so, so proud of you, girl. And I know, like your sister said, that, your father, rest in peace, he is extremely proud, because if I would have a dad like that, and I know that I admire him so much, that I definitely made my dad proud. So both of you having that support with your sister, it's amazing. So right on. Muchas felicidades.
Gracias, Lily. Lily has been with me for a very long time, with the boxes, because that's how this all started, with boxes. And as the business has evolved, I've never claimed to know it all, and I've grown through my failures. And many of you that are here have seen me grow through many failures. But it's a lot of lessons that my dad instilled in me, for dedication, for pride in what you do, that no matter what you do, because he was a janitor and he was able to travel the world. And he said to me, Mija, you can be anything you want to be in life as long as you work hard for it. And I'll never forget that. So, one day at a time. That's it. One day at a time. One day at a time. We'll reach for the stars. That's it. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone that has attended. I'll be mindful of your time. Mil gracias, muchas bendiciones. Thank you so much for being here, for supporting. And y nada, let's go make this a bestseller, and I'll see you around.
Hey, thank you everyone for joining us. Congratulations, Janny. And again, I'm Monica Encarnacion. I was so happy to host this with you today, Janny.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you so much.
Keep doing all this great work that you're doing. I know that many parents and many bilingual families are going to benefit from this, and there is your little one, right? The reason for all of it.
Yes.
So she's a proud daughter right now. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
wonderful night.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.